So welcome to our live audience and also to those that are going to watch this panel discussion as it is being recorded. My name is Nadiah Malik, and for the next hour, I have the pleasure of moderating a discussion with my esteemed panel of successful women that have managed to balance their personal and professional lives within cultural dynamics. Before we begin, I would like to take a moment and introduce myself. As I mentioned, my name is Nadiah. I'm a mother of three, two of which are college-going students, and one is a middle schooler. I've been married for 25 years, and professionally, I'm a telecommunications executive with 27 years of experience managing strategy and deployment. With that, I would like to take a moment now and introduce our panel. Mona, we'll start with you.
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much, Nadia. And I welcome all of you over here. I'm so excited to hear great tips from all of you. So let me introduce myself. My name is Mona. I'm living in New Jersey from last 15 years, mother of three kids, grown-up kids, two high schooler and one college going. I've been working from, of course, married from last 23 years, working different jobs all my life. I was been a working mom, and my current job is I'm an entrepreneur. I hustle juggle different hats all day. So I own different businesses, but my main focus is I own a franchise for preventive healthcare product, and I love my job. I have long hours, and of course, this is a great panel, and this is a much needed discussion where we all want to learn from each other how you can manage your life work balance.
Thank you so much. Saba?
Thank you so much, and for giving me the opportunity to speak here with all these wonderful and successful women. My name is Saba Ghauri. I am a mom of four beautiful kids, very active kids, two in high school, one middle school, and one elementary. I actually also work. I work within a pharmaceutical company. I have 20 years of experience within supply chain, project management, and commercial as well. And in my part-time, I am an Uber driver for my kids. My passion is I'm also a certified health coach, and I look forward to sharing my experiences and learning from these beautiful ladies here as well.
Thank you so much. So you're a free Uber driver, I would say.
Yes, I don't get paid.
Yeah. Saru?
Hi guys, Nadia, thank you so much for hosting this session. It's really nice to meet you guys once again. Saba, Mona, great intros. I am Sara Zahid. I am married for 15 years and I have a beautiful daughter. She's turning 8 in March, inshallah. And my career probably started around 15 years ago, right around the time that I was married. I'm currently working for Citibank as a vice president. I lead their product development space in digital channels, platform, and data services. So really excited to be here and looking forward to the discussion. I'm sure Nadiah is going to do great in moderating this. Thanks, Nadiah.
Thank you so much. So as you can see, we have a lot of experience here to share with all of you, and we're hoping that we can really dig in and have a productive conversation. Just to set the stage for the next hour, we're going to start with a general discussion question, open up and get comfortable getting into this meaty topic. Would love to get participation from the audience. So if you're on live with us now, you have the opportunity to ask questions and comments, and I'll be moderating and looking at those questions and bringing them into the conversation as it makes sense. So with all of that, let's go ahead and get started. Ladies, with your experiences, both personal and professional, what are some of the nuggets, support mechanisms, things that you've learned over the years that have helped you get to where you are today? And I'll shake things up a little bit. So this time, why don't we start with Saba?
Oh, thank you so much. That is such a wonderful question. And we could speak on this for hours, but what I'll try to do is, from my learned experiences of making mistakes and learning from them, if I had to break it down, I believe there's two different areas of your life. One is the the external aspect, which is at work, how you handle different things. And then the other one is internal, right? Internal to you, internal to your home, internal to your personal life. So starting with the external, I think it is really important to first ask yourself, are you happy with what your job? Are you happy doing what you do? Because that, at the end of the day, if you don't feel you're fulfilling and you're giving back and you're actually happy with what you enjoy doing, that affects you. So if you're not happy, my suggestion would be start thinking and planning for, well, what do I like doing, right? If I had to plan this out, and maybe you might find yourself in a year or two in that role, but what is it that I enjoy doing? Also, what if you are happy with what you do and you're okay with continuing it, what are your boundaries? Have you always communicated and set those boundaries? If you do, your management will not take advantage of you, right? Having those boundaries is really important, not only just for other folks, but also for yourself. If you say, hey, 5 o'clock, I'm going to shut down, and for the next 3 hours, it's my time, my home time, my kids' time, you need to sit and be dedicated to the boundaries that you've set. If you're wishy-washy and you flex those boundaries, then you find yourself in a frustrated situation. And one thing that I've learned and I try doing now, and I actually do, is making lists is my best friend. As I've gotten older, having all those things and nuggets and all my to-dos in my head just does not work. It allows for things to fall through the cracks, again, just creating more frustration at your end, all things you need to keep up with, right? So just those are just a few tips of the external factor. Now, if we start looking at internally, I think you have to be really aware of the state of your mind. If you're happy, it's easier to do what you're doing and participate and be involved at work. But if you're not, then try to understand where those stresses are coming from. What is it you can do to change the state of mind that you're in? And always remember, you get to do this, right? Alhamdulillah, you're blessed. You get to do this. You get to make the rotis. You get to drive your kids around. You get to bring them home. You get to do this. So your life should be filled with gratitude. That is really, really important. You need to have gratitude for all the things that you work on and you do at home. I also think it's really important to make time for me. You are a very important person, and without you, things would fall apart. It is really important that you take time out for yourself. If that means taking a lunch and a coffee break with your friends, if that means going for a walk, if that means getting a massage, getting your nails done, it is really important that you prioritize that because you need that downtime for yourself. And then in the same line of taking care of yourself, nutrition is key. If you are also a rundown mom who's running out of energy at 7, 8 o'clock at night, what's happening now is that you're taking that out and the frustration out on your families and your kids. And then now you're feeling guilty that, why am I yelling at them? And sometimes it comes down to because you're just tired and there just is a lot to do. But, that comes down to nutrition and how you feed yourself, how you take care of yourself. That was one of the reasons I had gone into health coaching, because I wanted to naturally have a lot of energy to be able to keep up with my hectic lifestyle. And so paying attention to those nutrition and learning what will give you energy is really important. So I'm going to pause there. I've shared little bits in here, but I'm sure my colleagues here have a lot of additional wonderful tips to share.
Awesome. Sara, why don't we go to you next?
Sure. I think very well said, Saba. I think a lot of the key points that you touched on is exactly, what my experience has been. And I think I fondly agree with you. The one thing that I would add on top of that is look, at work, especially when we set out goals for ourselves at the end of the year for the following year, or even in between projects or, in my case, development cycles, we set out goals, right? Not just for me, my team, etc. And what I've noticed for some of the folks that started to do more recent and I would say within the last decade or so, it's okay to say no, right? We've learned, especially as women, we realize that people don't like to say or hear no from when it comes to women. The realistic expectation is, okay, she's a lady, she's gonna figure things out, whether it's cooking or it's cleaning or taking care of children or being a really great wife, and that's at home. Versus at work, it's like, okay, she's a woman, she can take care of it, they can juggle multiple things at a time. But the idea is to set realistic expectations. And if you cannot do it, say you cannot do it. It's okay to say no, and it doesn't have to impact your career. So as long as the other things that you do right? The things that you have committed to, you're being evaluated based on merit, and your performance is it's skyrocketing, and you're not making excuses when you don't really have to or you don't really need to. So when all of the work that you do deliver is spot on, it's actually 110%, and people vouch for you, not just yourself, then the times you say no, they too will support you, whether it's your management, whether it's your coworkers and colleagues or your mentors, and say, well, you know what, she's reached capacity. And one thing I will add on top of that is when you do set out goals, always keep a buffer, right? If you want to do 10 things, I would add 8 things. And then the 2 that you can or cannot do will depend on your bonus, right? In terms of, if you do end up doing it, it's +1 for you or +2 for you. And then people will see that, okay, hey, she set out to do 8 things this year, check, 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 check. And on top of that, she did these 2 things. So don't start off with those 10 things initially, because you only know that you have capacity to do 8 because you're doing all the other external things that Saba mentioned. And it's okay to do that. And then Saba, I will also add to your point about taking time off for yourself, because when you are doing multiple things at home, when you come home to a sick child, when you are coming home to a midterm or an exam, or even school grade level tests for your child, you're doing 1,000 other things. You need to start prioritizing what matters to you the most in this moment. When you're done all prioritization, don't forget to prioritize yourself. And I think I learned that lesson personally the hard way. It's because in trying to please people at work, in the society, at home, in-laws, and my own personal family, friends, you forget to take a step back and say, you too are important. Your health too is important. So whether you want to go on a mini vacation by yourself or choose a couple of friends that you'd like to go to, honestly, it's okay. And people will realize that it's okay once you set the standard that you're okay with it and nobody else has a say in that. That's when acceptance comes. And I think that's the only point that I would like to add on to. Thanks, Nadiah.
Very well said. Thank you. Mona.
So yes, great tips. Looks, I have already learned so much so far. So you know what? If you talk about, I'll try to add some. If you talk about the definition of what is work-life balance, it's like minimizing your stress level. And of course, we all know this. We all are grown up that we cannot achieve this 100%. We can achieve to maximum to our capacity. Everybody, of course, you have your own tips. My way of working is different than you guys. It's all about how, where you see yourself, what is you, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. And of course, things, what I see 10 years ago, I was a different Mona. I used to take things differently. I did a lot of mistakes. And girls who are new to work environment, motherhood, to relationship, you're not alone. We all been through that. We are here after doing so many mistakes. So do not be so hard on yourself. Don't try to be perfect. One thing that this social media and all those internet creates such a big, you know, image that, oh my God, working woman, she's a perfect, she's working, she's best mom, she's best wife. There's nothing that is best. We all are trying and juggling and try to learn from each other. By doing all these mistakes, what I learned is that support system is the number one key, that you need to have a good support. And for that, you need to have communication, whether it's your work, whether it's your house, it's relationship in every way. And recognizing that, yes, my mom is a working mom. She's different from a stay-home mom. Stay-home mom works a lot. No offense or anything. They're doing their own job. But I have my own way how I do my work. I try to spend quality time, instead of quantity time. It's not that if I'm spending only 2 minutes with 5 minutes, I did not spend time.
Mhm.
First thing is that please do not hard on yourself. Recognize that this is very important topic, and you need a communication for this with your family, with everyone. And also recognizing this need of having personal time, whatever makes you happy. Some person likes to go for manicure. For me, meditation, workout, um, just spending some time quiet without any noise,
Mm.
just with myself, that I can sit down and see, introspect that what I did wrong today. For me, my mental health, where I am mentally, is very important. If I have so much negativity in my head, I cannot manage anything. I won't be able to achieve my task. I won't be able to keep myself positive and more motivated. Since all you guys know, I own my own business, so for that I need to be self motivated. I need to see my goals, and for those goals, it's all about mindset. I need to have my positive mindset, and having that discipline at home, that I take my kids and communicate with them. This week, you guys did not do this with me. I want you to do this. For one thing, I learned that nobody gets anything for free. Nobody gets anything without asking. You have to ask. Whether it's my kid, I would be really more appreciative if you unload the dishwasher every day at 9 o'clock. So when we get up in the morning, we have empty dishwasher so we can keep up the house clean. Because for me, I'm a clean freak. I need everything properly the way I want to. And if it's not, it's going to bother me. If mommy is unhappy, I'll make sure whole house is unhappy. So we need to make sure that we are communicating well. We have a good supportive environment, and I don't hesitate to ask help, whether it's my parents, whether it's my spouse, whether it's my kids or friends. And also, one thing is that sometimes venting out with your peers, with your friends. I'm having a stressful day. I need to talk about it.
Mm.
Sometimes when I'm talking, I know that what I am doing wrong. Sometimes when my husband or my boss is telling me I'm not doing this right thing, when I am talking to a friend and when she's telling me, I can communicate, I can understand my flaws, and I can try to make myself better. Also, we have with that also, growing up in a desi culture, like we all are from Pakistan, India, wherever, South Asian culture. We have not seen our parents coming from that environment where mom and dad both are working. I was fortunate enough that my mom was working, so I grew up in that environment where I knew that how to manage everything. But a lot of us don't. We need to be support for other people by giving them, by talking to them, by teaching them, by helping them. So I am a big, as Sara said and Saba said, that I write down everything. I put my alarms on my timers are set. I have a family group chat where we have scheduled for the whole week what we are going to eat, who's going to drop off this kid, who's going to bring grocery. I do my online shopping, Walmart, Target, Costco, everything online, and I have my days scheduled where my are going to be shipped. I know what I'm going to make. I know what I'm going to cook all 5 days prior to the week. So those are some simple tips that you can do, and the main thing is that you need to focus on spending time with your spouse. I think it's very important. Keeping time for your kids separate, for yourself separate, for your spouse separate, keeping those everything on a different priority list. That this is the time that I need to spend time with my husband. I make a list that every week for 1 hour, I'm going to spend time with one child. you know so it's easy. My kids knows that, okay, today it's my older daughter's turn. I'm going to take her for ice cream, and today I'm spending 1 extra hour with my husband. Everybody knows that I cannot be available 100% everywhere. They need to know that you all are special for me, and I am going to make special time for all of you. So just trying to keep, it's hard, as I said, nobody can achieve 100%. We all are learning by our mistakes, keeping yourself motivated and keeping yourself that, yes, I can do better than yesterday. I can still do better than yesterday, and trying to be better role model for my girls. I have two girls. And of course, they are growing up in this environment. They will be first generation kids. And for us, I was stay home mom for 5 years. But of course, I know that probably they will not have that luxury. In they might be working, after their college, there will be a working, maybe they will be working, they won't have that luxury that they can stay home, be a stay-home mom for a few years. So for teaching them and being a better role model for them, that yes, this is how you're going to manage everything. It's all, kids always do what you do, not what you say. So I like to be a better role model, and then try show them how you can manage everything.
It's awesome. Thank you, Mona. So what we just touched on is kind of the core. A lot of you said things that are going to hit a nerve with some of our listeners, because they are either challenged to manage or trying to figure out how do they take those tactics and strategies and apply them in their life. So what I'm going to try to do, and I again encourage anybody listening to post any questions that may come to mind in the chat as we are moving through the conversation. But I do want to dig into a few of the topics that you ladies already touched on, but try to dig in a little bit deeper into how do you really make some of these strategies work. So one of the topics, and I think all three of you touched on it, is how do you set out those boundaries within your environment, within your home, within your work, so that you are not burned out while you're juggling multiple responsibilities. So with that one, I'll start this time with Sara, if you could help us kick that one off.
Sure. Thanks, Nadiah. So I think, to keep it very simple, and I learned this again the very hard way in the last couple of years, or at least in the last 5-7 years, it has been gotten a lot better since the learning. Discipline, right? I think it plays a very, very big role in how you're able to set those boundaries, right, between what's external and what's internal, and how you're going to take everything and do everything that you set out to do and you want to do, you have to do. And discipline is the key. And I think Mona touched on this a little bit, right? And Saba as well. You're calendarizing everything. You're first and foremost, you're identifying the priorities that you need to do. You need to set it out that this is your number one, number two, number three at home, and then at work, etc. At work, you're going to be able to do it anyway, because you're not the only one to set out those priorities, unless you're a sole contributor, which is different. But at the end of the day, look, our paycheck it depends on it, and even if the paycheck is an issue, your boss is going to be all on top of you, and you're getting ratings, you're getting performance evaluations. At home, it's like you're not really getting rated, but you are getting the eyes, right? Your children are being neglected, so they're looking at you differently. Your mom and dad are screaming at you, or you're getting screamed at by your in-laws. You didn't do this. If dinner's not ready, it's a completely different ballgame. But that's where discipline comes in. Look, you have a 8 to 6 job, or a 9 to 5 job, whatever it is, or your business, which is a continuous 24-hour thing. Then you need to take that time away once you are completely at home. For example, if you're working in the industry, if you're not a business owner like Mona, then take that time out and clock off, right? Tap out, and you're saying, okay, I'm done for the day. Now the rest of things that I need to do is I pick up the laundry list of items that I need to do and take care of at home, whether it's helping out with the groceries or whether. But at the same time, and I think one of Mona or Saba touched on this, that your partner in crime, which is your spouse at home, whether it be your husband or your wife, whatever it is, you have some divided responsibilities that are 50%, right? In my household, for example, it's a 50% shared contribution. And that doesn't mean that it's an everyday 50%. Sometimes he ends up doing 80% and I do 20%. And sometimes I do nothing and he's taking care of it 100%. But sometimes the shoe is reversed. So whether you're disciplined or not, there are some flexibilities that you have to bake into that discipline, where someone or another, even if it's your child or your parents, they will need to help out and contribute to the things that you cannot do. Sometimes you're sick, right? You cannot get out of bed, and then who's left to do everything? Your dishes can't be piled up in the sink, or your boss can't be hammering you and trying to get you on a call that's in UK or whatever. You're done. You're tapped out. You're good. But overall, in your day-to-day, if you are prioritized, you're disciplined, you're following a routine, and it's okay to break out of the routine once in a while due to circumstances or certain specific episodes, and it's completely fine. But if you have a good routine and you maintain that discipline, personally, it has worked very well. And to my earlier point, when you say it's okay to say no, sometimes I'm that person where, people will say, look, I texted you or called you, you haven't returned any of my calls. And I'll say, look, I love you, right? If you're my friend, you know what the space that you have in my heart, or my mom or my dad. And you're like, listen, you're my parents. But I like to just sometimes shut down and tap out from everything, right? From my discipline, from my routine and everything. That's great. But if you tap out, you kind of need that recharge, reboost, and get away from the world and do your own thing, whether it's watch a movie, watch a show, catch up on your dramas or soap operas, whatever you watch or listen to. You get out, then you get back into your real world and you start just chugging away again. You're running that marathon every day. But I think if there's one key takeaway from me that I would like to share with the audience and the rest of you is extreme discipline, and that's where I'll leave it.
Awesome. Thank you, Sara. Mona, I'll go to you next. I know you touched on this a little bit with some of your intro comments on, children helping out with the chores and making sure that, you're doing the online shopping. What else do you think is important for women to help and set those boundaries on what their role is going to be in the household?
So I'm very regiment. So I know that these are the things that needs to be done on, like, my calendars are set for the next week. I'm not that person who can just say, hey, I'm ready for lunch, I can go out and just leave everything. So those are the boundaries that I set with my friends, that if you need to plan something, we are going to plan a week ahead. I'm not available at the last minute for anybody. I'm sorry, I love you. And as Sara said earlier, it's okay to say no. So sometimes you just have to say, I love you and I love to spend time with you, but at the moment I'm not available. How about let's set up some time for next week? Or or my husband wants to go somewhere, I would do the same thing. So, and also, so these tips, being very you having a good communication. I'm always very fond, like, communicating with everybody in a better way, so that we're not having any that wrong understanding, that somebody is misunderstanding me, that, oh, I don't want to spend time with them. It's not that. So having set boundaries, I have my parents close by. I lived with my mother-in-law for 21 years, and not even a one time we had any argument. It's all because that I know that I'm good at setting boundaries, and that's the first only key, is like communicating how you can set boundaries with other people.
Love that. Thank you. That's great. And Saba, what about you? What would you like to add to the conversation?
I think that each one of us, we have our strengths and weaknesses. And for some people, conflict or setting those boundaries could be a conflict. It's not easy to define. If you are strong, I think it helps you set those boundaries. But if you're not as strong, sometimes, your boundaries take a back seat and you become flexible. But I think it comes back to priority. I think you have to think about what is really important in my life. For me personally, it's my kids. So if it's a work thing or a friend's thing or a family thing, I might prioritize my kids' activity first, because honestly, you only have so much time with them, right? Either it be in high school or college or elementary, you only have so much time with them. All this other stuff will remain at it as is, and you continue to live and work and promote your career as much as you want. But I think at some point in life, you have to assess, like, what is important for me right at this moment in my life, and what is okay to take a back seat until a few more years, or until I've set a time. After this time, I can continue focusing on these other aspects. So having those priorities and understanding them, I think, is a big part of this, because when you, on a day-to-day basis, then you're easily able to assess, what should I prioritize versus what should I don't. And, I agree with everything you guys have said. Discipline is number one up there. There are days when it's hard to walk away from your desktop. You just have to say, yes, you know what? It's time for dinner. my son is looking for third grade help on math. Like that is more important for me to do than to continue sending some of these emails for, as in just a small example, right? And they're not going to be there asking you for help on their homework for too long, right? And those are the cherished conversations and the moments that they cherish as well. And I think you just have to sometimes live in the moment, because we spend a lot of time, and I'm guilty of it, and being aware of it, it has helped me try to be in the present. We're just always running 10 miles ahead. So we're not actively present in whatever task we're doing. We're thinking, okay, I got to drive here, and tomorrow I got to do this, and I got to plan for this, and I got to plan for that. And it just takes over, but we don't live in the present. And I think if we actively are self-aware and try to live in the moment, that would help us. But all these other aspects that you all have mentioned, you know, the discipline, having the right support system at home, being organized. One thing I'm a big fan, and I do it every week, and Monday is my meal planning day. I do my meal planning. Groceries arrive before then. My cleaning gets done on Monday. My meal planning is done every Monday. If I don't do that, I fall into pieces. Like, you know, if I don't have that organized, like I'm lost, because then I've already got enough pressures of the week and trying to keep my day-to-day, schedule running. And on top of that, now I got to spend 2 hours like making dinner. No, I can't do that. So again, all those aspects you mentioned, organized, delivery, discipline, having the right kind of assistant. And that's where my spouse has been very helpful. I'm like, oh, well, I just need someone to come help me maybe fold this, or come and help me in the kitchen, and he's okay with it. He understands it. And having those conversations sometimes is not easy, and it does not come naturally to everybody. But I think you do have to kind of push yourself out of your comfort zone to have those conversations.
Awesome. Thank you. So we talked a lot about how we manage priorities, how we manage with our families. I want to shift the conversation a little bit to how do we, in our workplace dynamics, ask for that level of flexibility. I believe in our culture how we've grown up, it's a little bit more difficult for us as compared to our white female counterparts or male counterparts of any other race or ethnicity to ask for some of those flexibilities that others enjoy and others are more forthright in asking for. So I just want to open up the conversation and ask you ladies, how have you partnered with your employer? And I know, Mona, for you, it's a little bit different because you are employing others. Yeah. How do you build that into your day-to-day? And how do you work with your employer to set those boundaries or ask for the flexibility that you need to be able to juggle your work life and your personal life?
So that's a beauty of having your own business, that I do have a lot of flexibility, but of course I have a big team that I manage. I know how to be flexible for them too. I need something to be done today, but things happen. We need to be flexible. And as a female, as a woman, as a mom, I understand. But there are some things, as we were discussing, that we are human first. We understand these are the things that, yes, we can accommodate, we can adjust, where there are some things that we have to do it at the deadline. There is no that we can shift it to next day or next week. So having a priority list, setting those boundaries with your employees, it really helps. That those are the things we cannot, those are tasks that needs to be done before end of the week. And I come across a lot with this situation. We need to have a backup plan. If this person is doing this, if that person gets sick, we need to shift to other person. So having some backup would really help. So that would not make me stressed out at the last minute. Having a plan A and plan B already set up, thinking a little further out of the box, that what if things happen, how I'm going to handle this situation.
Love that, Mona. So Mona's take on it is more like, as I'm running my business, how do I build that flexibility into the core of what I'm doing, right? So Saba and Sara, I would love to hear from both of you, because I think we, as I was saying before, are intimidated at times as South Asian women to ask for that flexibility, but it is part of our basic rights to be able to ask for flexibility, especially in an environment where there's so much from a technology perspective that we can use to keep our work moving forward. So how have you guys navigated that? Were you ever afraid to ask for that flexibility, or are you? And how did you kind of manage that so that our audience can learn from that approach as well?
So, Saba, I would love to add
Go ahead.
something. Maybe
Yeah.
you and I can team tag it. Look, I'll be very transparent. I learned this in my career growing up. One thing you need to have is a relationship with your manager. If I'm not saying you have to have a great relationship with your manager or a very bad one. I'm saying when you are talking about work, that's great. Take some time out to take your manager for coffee or ask him for a one-on-one to just talk about family and life and what you do outside of work, right? What are your hobbies? What do your kids do? Where does your husband work? And talk to them with names. Engrave that in your manager, that when they refer to your child and they ask, oh, how's your daughter doing? No, they want, like, my daughter's name is Summer. And if my manager asks me today, how is your daughter doing? He doesn't say, how does your daughter doing? He says, how is Summer doing? How is her school? I remember you told me she had a math test and you were really working very hard with her. How did that go? You want to share personal experiences, even if he walks over your desk or she walks over your desk for 2 minutes to say hi. Throw something in there. Oh, my husband and I, we did this yesterday, or Aamir and I, or Summer and I did this yesterday. Use the names, use personal experiences. You start building that relationship where he or she will automatically start feeling connected to you and your family. And you don't use that as a con or a strategy to then get things that you need to out of it. No, you use that as a strategy or some sort of a way that you then make him or her feel connected to you in a way that is not work. You both are humans. All your team members are humans, and you should do that with your own teams as well. So what ends up happening in this what I experienced is that when you start building that extra connection, there's two things that happen. One is that they understand what you feel for family, how you prioritize, and how, your mom, dad, what are your responsibilities at home, some of your social responsibilities. And they know that now, right? You've communicated that, you've built that relationship over the 6 or 12 months or 1 year, whatever that time period took. That relationship is built, so the foundation is set. So the number two thing that happens is when you need flexibility, when you say, oh, my in-laws are over this weekend, and so Monday is going to be really difficult for me to go because I have to drop them off to the airport, he or she will know. Okay, this is like the sixth, in 6 months, they come once a year. Or, hey, I am taking off for Ramadan or Eid this week because this is the week that my family comes, and they know your routine because that happened last year. And I'll give you a prime example. My husband, he goes to Pakistan because his father lives in Pakistan during Thanksgiving, and he spends about 2 weeks there. And because we only get 2 days of the calendar year of November, my daughter's off. He goes for 2 weeks. I can't naturally join him in that trip. So, but we are required to be in the office 3 days a week right now, and then 2 days we can be at remote. So in the last 5-6 years, my managers, my superiors, they know that every year her husband goes to Pakistan to see his dad, to see his sisters. And this is the 2 weeks that she always asks for, that I cannot come into the office. I have pick up, drop off, all these other things that are happening. And they know it's a routine because they've known that it's been happening for so many years, right? All other special events, birthdays, things. So wherever I need flexibility, first, I know my priorities. And so I know where I need the flexibility. Having that relationship, they know my routine as well as I do, as well as my family. And they know that she's not making these things up because they're so repetitive. They know my nature. They know my mom is important. My dad is important. My niece is important. My sisters are important. They live with me or they don't live with me, or these are the times that they do live with me, blah, blah, blah. And they know that course is set out for the remainder of the year, and it will happen again year after year. But the one thing I would really like to stress, because this is where it gets you into trouble, never take advantage of that relationship. Mm-hmm. Never make excuses when you're really lazy and you want to go shopping and you say, oh, I can't make it because I'm sick. Don't do that, because eventually that will add up. You won't know yourself, but you'll get carried away using that excuse and misusing that relationship. and then all the hard work that you put in to make that relationship with your superiors, your colleagues and coworkers, it will start to lose its credibility and it goes down the drain. That's my 2
I
cents.
love that. I love that. And I'll get to you, Saba, in 1 second, but I just wanted to add a little bit to that it's almost like you're building your brand, right? You're building trust, and that does come with time. And one thing that Sara said, which is really critical, is that she learned this over the course of her career, right? So in the beginning, we all struggle with that relationship and how involved do you get and how much do you let somebody in? And it's important to have a boundary at work between your personal and professional life, but not to be afraid to ask for what you need to be successful, because these, at the end of the day, will help you with mental health, will help you create that balance, will help you be more productive and successful at the end of the day for your organization. Saba, anything you want to add to that?
I think I just want to agree that, a lot of what we've mentioned, does come down to your management. And if you're fortunate enough that you end up being part of a team that is run by a good manager, you're very lucky. But there are many times when that is not the case. And it's a journey. Some of it is a struggle. It takes a while to get to understand. And maybe this is when you mature in your career, you understand these are my boundaries. This is what I can and this is what I cannot do. And if you are in part of a team and your management does not understand that, and you haven't been able to communicate that and get them to understand your boundaries and your background and what your needs are, then it's probably time to reassess. Like, should you be where you are, right? Maybe it's time to move on and find something new. But being aware of that, finding it, and then making a decision that I'm going to go somewhere else takes a lot of guts and it takes a lot of effort to do. And it's not for everybody. There was one time, and I come from big pharma, right? You're just a number when you're in big pharma. You are able to, one day I walked into my management and I just gave my resignation because I was like, I can't deal with this anymore. This is not okay. The way I'm being treated is not okay. The flexibility I've been giving is not okay. I don't want to do it. And I just walked away. And not everyone is in a position to do that. Alhamdulillah, I was. But again, this comes back to understanding that it's okay to make a change. If you're stuck in a rut, it is okay to make a decision to say, I don't want to do this to myself anymore, right? I want to look for something else. And then when I did go to look for something else, I knew I said, I want A, B, C. And until I find A, B, C, and I had the ability to be able to say, okay, it's okay if I don't have a job for 6 months. I'm comfortable. There's not, again, my husband supported me. I have the right family support system. I waited until I found something I loved. And alhamdulillah, something did come my way that was exactly what I needed. My company, my management, they bent over backwards for me, right? And they were able to work with me, even though it was an exception they were making. But they did that because they saw me as a valuable employee who can add value. And they did that for me. So it didn't matter if I left at 2 or 3 or, I have childcare needs. They know that my work is going to get done and it's quality deliverables and it's going to be done in time and when they need it. It didn't matter from a day to day, the micromanagement of it. So.
Yeah. No, I love what you just touched on, which again is another area that I feel like South Asian women struggle with, is taking the risk and really knowing your own value. And that does come with time and experience, but I think it's critical to know that we do underappreciate and undervalue ourselves, and we bring a lot to the table. So we need to learn to build that confidence and to help each other through these processes. So I hope that as we're having this discussion, folks that are listening realize that there's a lot of us out here that are going through or have been through some of these struggles, some of these challenges, and can help each other through navigating what's the best way, whether it's at home. We talked a little bit about what that looks like, and we talked about at work. So as we're coming into the last quarter or the last quarter of the conversation, just want to open it up to how do we help each other? Mentorships and being a mentee, being a mentor is huge in the corporate segment and in other large organizations and community organizations as well. I don't know if we really do that as well within our community, where we partner and we reach out and we're comfortable enough to do that. So how do we encourage South Asian women to feel comfortable to reach out to us to others, somebody that they admire, and not be afraid to ask for help or guidance or suggestions as they're working and navigating through all of these different aspects of a personal and professional career. I'll open it up. Whoever has a nugget they want to share.
So I'll start. So I think it's really important that we step outside of our comfort zone and approach other women as well as be approachable. Because the image that we have, the persona that everyone sees us as, sometimes we give off signals that might be right, that might not be right, and we're just thinking in our zone sometimes. But it is really important that we want to be approachable. When you join a new organization, you go out to those leaderships, you go out to people that you have access to, and just get to know them and ask them about their career, ask them about their journey, and if they could give tips on, what is it that you should be doing in your career journey as well. So seeking help, building those relationships is good. And at the same time, be approachable yourself. So if you're in a position and you see other people around you, especially Asian women who are younger, or there are a lot of college students or new moms who are just coming into the work and, environment, it's okay to, just reach out to them for a coffee and be approachable so they are comfortable sharing with you and how their work-life balance is, and give them tips as well. So I think being approachable is really important, because I think that sometimes as Asian women, we've just played so many roles and we've gotten thick skins that we don't have empathy anymore, and we're just trying to get through. We've had our own hardships in our own career paths that we forget that you were there once, in a way. So
I love that.
Mona?
Yeah. So I totally agree with Saba. And of course, I believe in what you give, you get. So try to be ray of light for others. Share your positive influence and positive energy to others, and be open. Be very transparent. Discuss. When you see new people, new girls, share your experience. They will learn a lot from your mistakes, and try to guide them. Try to guide young girls and people who are new in this work area or in a business, any field. And so when you are going to be helpful for others, I totally believe this, that you will get the same response one day. When you need help, they will be there for you.
I love that. Sara?
Yeah, no, I agreed with Mona and Saba, and absolutely, I think it's great points that you guys mentioned. I'll piggyback off, right? I think women empowerment. I think the core fundamental rule of thumb is the sincerity that women will have with one another, right? We as a community, right? If you're separating women, we have to be unified. We have to be sincere to one another. And if we're talking only from a professional capacity perspective, I think Saba mentioned this, that we have a moral responsibility of not just being approachable. And I really liked what she said was, we have to be the ones that need to go up to other women who either maybe younger, not just by age, but in their professional capacity or their career, is just to go up to them and say, hey, what can we do to help you? Do you need help? What has been your journey like? And here's my journey to share. And this is what I have done. Maybe there can be lessons learned. Maybe they're not. Maybe there's something that we can even learn from the younger generation, who have been in certain industries that we want to scope out. And it's a learning process. But again, sometimes I feel as women, we've over the course of years, because we've been through so much, or things, it's a constant, sometimes it can turn into an unhealthy competition. Sometimes it can turn into a professional competition that can either be healthy, or it can be like, hey, look, she's the same age as me, and she's far more successful than I am, and it can just become a very nasty journey from there on out in terms of that relationship. But guys, the only thing that I can say is put that aside. South Asian women, non-South Asian women, women in general, get together and embrace the unity and lift yourselves up, right? Compete with men. If you want to compete with somebody, compete with men, because that's your true challenge, right? That's our legacy, that we've always wanted to be equal to men, right? And so technically that's your competition, not the other way around. Be happy for the women that are leaving everything behind. I know so many women, and I'm mashallah so proud of them, that are married 20 years, and they've just picked up their half of the undergraduate years that they haven't not completed, and now they want to complete a degree, or going in ahead and finishing their higher education, whether it be master's or PhD, and starting off their career like fresh. 20 years, their children are 20 years, 21, and they're graduating themselves. Those are the women that I really I'm inspired by, and I'm happy to help or guide and do whatnot for, because that's the real struggle. They've been under the gun in terms of spending 90% of their time in the kitchen, or serving their in-laws or their own personal family and raising their children. And they're going out and doing something amazing for themselves finally, that they've been wanting to do even before they got married. And those are the women I'm like, hey, what can I do to help you, right? Those are the women that we need to reach out to, or even young babies who are fresh graduates. They're the new generation, but they really need our help, because maybe they have seen their mothers and their grandparents work, maybe they haven't. And so truly, I think it's the unity that I and honestly, I'll be very transparent, I think it's missing, right? And I think we as professional women who've been through a lot, whether it's personal or professional lives, if there's a lesson learned, like from that perspective, it's women empowerment. And the core of it is to be unified and help yourselves. And the root is the challenge. The competition is with the men, right? So it's guys against girls. Let's take that and move forward with it. That's all I can say.
Love it. I just want to summarize a little bit about what we talked about. So we talked a lot about in the home, how do we set those boundaries? How do we make sure that we're taking care of ourselves from a mental health perspective? How do we communicate at the workplace about what we need and not be afraid to do that? And what we just talked about was partnering and not being afraid to network, to reach out, to get a mentor. One of the things, as we are doing with this group, is coming together to lend a voice, to lend a face. We're here to help. If you aren't involved as much, get involved with the Women's to Women group. There are other ERGs at work, employee resource groups. There are women in tech, women in pharma, these big groups that you can get involved in, and start your network there. And that'll empower you to make some of the decisions, like what Saba talked about, where she made a decision that this role is not for me anymore, and I'm not going to be afraid, and I'm going to move on. By building that network, you're going to empower yourselves to get the support, guidance, and opportunities to help and make some of those changes to get to that place where you have that solid work-life balance. So I know we're at the last few minutes. Thank you, ladies. This was amazing. I have to say, I learned a lot, and it gave me a minute to self-reflect on what am I doing? What am I not doing? What should I be doing? So thank you. And I know that there may be some questions for us out there. Here we go. All right. Do you feel that being organized can also take a toll on people? Love that. So I'll just kick off. Sometimes I'm known as the super organized one. It can. One thing I've learned in my career is everybody that we deal with has a separate style, a social style, and there's tools out there where you can take Myers-Briggs or other social style tests to find out how you are. And although you as an individual may look organized, you may be working with somebody that's intimidating for them. You have to learn how to balance that, especially in the workplace. Ladies, I'd love to hear from all of you.
So everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses. Of course, if somebody's strength is that they're more disciplined, they will work better. And if somebody is not, they won't. So it's all up to your own personal style.
Yeah, and I think with organization, I completely 100% say yes. With organization, it becomes takes a huge toll on you, not just from the aspect of organizing, but when you break out of organization, if you're OCD, then it's an actual stress, right? It's an adding to your stress that, oh, I couldn't do this, and this is what I planned, and it didn't go well. It's okay. And like I said, at the beginning of the session, that it's not a big deal to break out of that routine, to break out of that organization, just tap out. If failure is part of life, that's how we measure success, right? How many times we failed, and in terms of how many times we've been successful, that's how we measure success. So yes, it's a huge stress factor and adder that being completely organized can really add to the stress. But the key is just tell yourself, dude, it's okay. Yes, it's okay. I failed. Whatever. Tomorrow's another day. We'll get up and do it all over again, and it's not a big deal. So just
you learn from failure, right? How else are you going to learn?
Exactly.
So what again, going back to prioritization, there are things in my life that I'm like, you know what, I have to be organized in these. There's no exception. But then there are other things like my closet maybe that is unorganized and it annoys me, but it's okay because I can deal with it. But when it comes to like kids and things that impact kids and the family, I'm like, nope, that meal planning, I have to be organized no matter. So I think you can make decisions on what is it that you want to prioritize to be able to handle, right? Because there's only so much you could do. You're only one person at the end of the day. So I think understanding and making a decision, an active decision on this is what I prioritize, this is what I work on. Maybe it is meal planning, maybe it is scheduling activities, because that is how it'll help you execute your week in a successful manner.
Yeah.
But there are things that if they're not organized, your home's a mess for a week, it is okay. You'll get to it at the end of the week. So I think there's a give and take, a balance that we all must juggle.
And what's going to give you satisfaction and allow you to move forward? Like if there's something that's going to weigh on you that you didn't get done and it's going to really bring down your next couple of days, then yeah, tackle that. But if there's other things that you can, put aside, it's okay. Take a deep breath and just move forward.
Exactly.
I think I saw another question on how do you balance, there we go. How do you balance your social life with your work life? That's also crazy and busy. Any tips for that?
I'll take that one a little bit, Nadiah. I think, look, having a social life is a huge blessing, and I think living in New Jersey, and especially the South Central Jersey, it can be a little overwhelming given all of the communities and the groups and everything. It's a lot of fun. It's no doubt the most happening state that I ever, since childhood, I grew up here. But I think if I can sum up the entire conversations and the points that all of us added here, it's like, you know what? You can continue your busy social life along with your work and your life. And it's okay not to be present everywhere. Yeah. Right? Like I said earlier, your close friends, your people that really, really know you well will understand if you don't show up one place and end up being in another, and you tapping out and saying, look, I can't be on the phone, or I can't text, or I can't come on this video call, blah, blah, blah. And it's and those that really know you. But we have certain social standards in the society that hold us responsible, right? We have the fear of losing good friends. We have the fear of, okay, if I'm not going here, I may not be invited here again because they think that I don't show up, blah, blah, blah. But those folks, those great people that love you and that really desire your presence in any social gathering will also understand, just like your boss understands that you have a personal life. Just like your husband understands that you have a career. That's how your close friends or your community will understand that she has these other two areas that she needs to get to. It becomes overwhelming. Honestly, it's another stress adder. I'll be very honest and I'll raise your hand. Like, look, you have this community that you're trying to balance as well, because I feel like that's also in-laws for me. It's like I have to make them very, very happy. I have to make my boss happy. I have to make my husband and my daughter happy. So it becomes a challenge either way you look at it. But it's lower your standards. Look, if you have certain goals, you have to be there everywhere. You cannot be everywhere. I'm sorry. You cannot sail multiple ships and expect you to do everything. So lower your standards, lower your expectations, and then eventually people will lower theirs as well. That's, again, keep repeating this. I learned the hard way. And as long as you are content that your intentions are fine, and it is as a wife, as a mother, as a professional employee of any company or industry, these are your things that you need to do. Everything else is just going to fall into its place because you're content. And you're not out there to please people. You're first and foremost, you're here to please yourself. And
having that healthy mindset is so critical. Like, what is going to bring you mental peace? If it's going to cause you stress, then it's really not a social activity, right? Your social activity should be a release. It shouldn't be another stress factor in your day-to-day and in your routine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Others.
So Sara, you explained it so well. I just want to add one thing. So quality over quantity. So you know what company makes you feel better, what company, which party you have to pick, which friend. Your friends are not going to leave you if you didn't go to their party one time, two time. So you need to make sure conscious effort that these are the people, these are my friend, those are the people that you don't have to do all small talk. Like if I see myself 10 years ago, I used to go to probably like 8 parties a day and have 8 different gift bags with me in the car. But now, I'm 44. I'm not here to please everybody. I pick and choose because my crazy weekend does affect my long 5 days of work. I'll be, very grumpy mom, grumpy wife. I won't be able to do well at work. I'll be yelling at somebody probably at some point. I'll break down, I'll cry. But so I learned this. No, I know who are my good friends. I'm not ready to have small talks, looking good joda, everything. No, I'm not there. I want to have meaningful conversation. Something that is going to make me wiser, make my day better, some genuine, friends. I'm all for that.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
So believe it or not, we're at 3:00. Saba, anything you want to add quick?
Yes, this will be really quick. I think as we get older, we need to be comfortable with the word FOMO, which is fear of missing out. And I think that's our biggest downfall. As we get matured in age, we understand, and recognize where FOMO is happening, and you learn to accept it because it is okay. If you didn't go somewhere and you didn't participate somewhere, it was okay because something else is going to happen next week, right? So it's quality over quantity, because to build a relationship, it takes time and effort. And if you're able to successfully do that with one person, you've been successful at this. That's all you need. One real good friend. That's all you need.
Yes, that's our motto, no FOMO. There we go. That's our new.
No FOMO.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you for everybody listening. Appreciate all of the great feedback that we're getting as we went through the last hour. We're here to help and support. So reach out to any of us if there's any questions that you have. And just go ahead and take the bull by its horns and be confident. Ask for support, communicate, and know that we've all juggled this and it is doable. You just have to have that confidence to make it happen. So again, ladies, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate Nusrat and Binish for helping us pull this together. Women to Women Forum, if you haven't gotten your tickets for the event, please do so. And thank you guys all.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you all.